welcome back to UPress Play, a sports show produced by FAU Student Media. I'm Megan, and with me is Maddox and Morgan, and we are live streaming on OwlTV's YouTube. It's nice that we finally get to do the show back to back because we started, and then it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and then now we're back for the second week in a row. So have you guys done anything fun recently? I know, Morgan, you just said you went to the Renaissance Fair yesterday.
Yeah, I went to the Renaissance Fair. It was fun. There was a lot of music. I did a little quest. I got a bunch of stamps. I'm now a part of a magical town called Promenade. So yeah, now I'm a magical wizard, I guess.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's a Boca Raton Renaissance Fair. It's really fun.
Maddox, have you done anything fun recently? Well, you got to broadcast the game yesterday, right?
Yeah, I broadcasted the FAU's win over USF. Very fun game, very interesting. I mean, both teams were very down the middle, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in our show. But I mean, it was a fun game. It was an interesting dunk contest they had. At halftime, they had some of the football players do a dunk contest. Didn't see exactly who was the winner. Didn't know his name. But he jumped over one of the judges, and he got he got cool. 10 out of 10 from the 4 judges.
I would have been scared if I was that judge. I don't know if I would want a person jumping over me.
You've never seen a dunk contest attempt go wrong,
Yeah.
What if somebody just smacks them in the head?
I mean, I've seen a lot of times in the NBA, their dunk contests recently are really bad.
Oh.
And a lot of them they will miss. I remember Jaylen Brown. He one time won the dunk contest. He jumped over Kai Cenat. Kai Cenat's 5'8". Yeah, and Jaylen Brown's I think almost 6'7" or something. He's almost a foot taller than Kai. And he had Kai sit down on a chair. I'm that's not really anything interesting because
he's 4 feet on the chair now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe he just wanted to be safe. And he was nervous that he was gonna hit him in the head. But yeah. So speaking of FAU basketball. They're currently 12-10 now, and they're 5-4 in the AAC. They just had back-to-back 20-point win games. On Wednesday, they played UTSA, and they beat them 94-74. And Kai Tandy, he put up 26 points that game. And then yesterday, they beat USF 94-72. And the whole game, they maintained the lead the entirety of that game. I believe the closest that USF got was at the beginning by 1 point. It was 4-3, and that was the closest that they were. And we were kind of not last week. It was kind of a different tone when we were talking about the team. And with these last 2 games, I remember I said something "Oh, they're not putting up as many points as they used to be at the beginning of the season," and now back-to-back games they just scored 94, which it's kind of cool that they got 94 in both of them. But what do we feel the reason for this sudden kind of flip is?
I feel one of the big differences is they're actually the shots are finally falling, right? The UTS game they were 50% from 3, so and Moretti the last game was open from 3 a lot of times. A lot more smarter shots. We're just more efficient overall. The shots are finally falling. I know this team kind of sometimes lives and dies by the 3. They can get into that oh, why are you chucking 3s when you've only made 2 out of 20? But now they're hitting them, and this is kind of the positive side of when everything's clicking. 94 points on back-to-back games. So that's definitely one of the bigger reasons why. We 2-0 in these last 2 games.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's more of just how well they are playing defensively. I mean, because they're 395th, last in the nation in 3-point percent defense, and they're one of the worst in the conference in, I believe, just field goal defense as well, or no, just scoring defense.
Yeah.
So their defense was not that great in this game. They had 6 blocks, 4 steals, 30 rebounds. They were playing well defensively because you can trust the offense. Playing players averaging double digits. I mean, there were 4 players, each of them having double digits in that USF game. Trey Carroll had 18, led the team. Then Baba Miller had 10. Vokatitis had 18. Vokatitis had 18, and Moretti had 17. So the Owls, they're still again sharing the ball, shooting well. They were doing well offensively. The biggest concern was how they're going to be defensively.
Yeah.
And I think also these 2 games are really important because, granted, UTSA and USF weren't the same as they were last year. So I mean, those wins look good, but also it's like those are kind of easier opponents. But it's good to start gaining wins, gaining momentum, especially in this conference, where it's still very wide open. And their next 4 games, 3 out of the 4 are in the bottom of the conference.
Yeah.
So, right, and after that 4-game slate is on the road against currently ranked Memphis. So trying to get as many wins as you can, building that momentum, building that confidence is very important. So when it comes against Memphis later on, then they start really finding themselves that identity, and it could be a very entertaining game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a month ago when they played Memphis and lost by,
30.
basically 30 points. And now Memphis is, they're first in the conference, but they also are ranked 19th in the country right now. But I'm looking at the difference between that game. When they played Memphis, they only had 7 assists. But yesterday, with their win, they had 19 assists. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we're finally kind of seeing, like,
ball movement?
Everything's like clicking for their ball movement because, I mean, I didn't actually get to go to the game because I had to work, unfortunately. But I was looking at some of the highlights, and I believe it was Walker that had 7 assists, and he was constantly just finding Vokatitis under the rim, and Vokatitis also had 18 points yesterday when he's only been averaging 9. So he had a really great game. Yeah,
but I think also, like, again, when sharing the ball, like, FAU right now in the conference, they lead in assists with about 16.6 per game and 35th nationally with that. So that was one of the things I mentioned during the broadcast was how I thought that's both a concern but also a positivity for where the team doesn't look that consistent. Because the previous game, it was Kiki Tandy who led the team in points, and now it's like it's Baba Miller and Carroll and Vokatitis both leading the team with 18. So both those games, 3 separate players led the team in scoring, but also, again, passing the ball movement. That it put USF like just like on its heels, like on its toes, didn't know what to expect. So that could be both a positive, but also a negative, because when you're like scouting like Duke, you know, okay, Cooper Flagg, that's their guy. When you're scouting North Carolina, you know RJ Davis, that's their guy. For FAU, it's like, well, we think it might be this guy because he had a good game, but also could be any of these other like 5 or 6 players. So that's both an upside, but also could be a downside as well.
I think we're starting to see a lot more of certain players taking like a big role. Like Baba Miller and Trey Carroll, you mentioned that we had 10 forced turnovers against USF, and 6 of them were from Carroll and
they're starting to find their identity. A lot of players trying to figure out who they are, because early in the year, all of them were still new to one another. They didn't know how the team, really what the team was, what their identity was, both offensively and defensively, but most importantly, defensively. And that was a huge struggle, especially since you're in the non-conference schedule where you're playing back-to-back tournaments, you're playing 12 straight days in Charleston. You're not having that much time to really like scout other teams and whatnot. You're just preparing for the next game, not really spending enough time to prepare as a team and get to know one another, because they finished their roster very late in the offseason before the season started. So they didn't have enough time overall to figure out who they were as a team, because they had to immediately get ready for the start of the season off against, remember correctly, it was their first game against Indiana State. So they didn't have not much time, about a little over a month, to figure out how they were as a team before playing against someone like against a team like Indiana State, who had a lot of success last year. So early in this season, we didn't know exactly what their identity was. We didn't know, they didn't know like really what they were, be offensively or defensively. They didn't know what their identity was. Now later on, as you can expect, they're starting to find their mojo, starting to figure out who they are, each of them, what their role is, and like them accepting that role they have for that team. And it's starting to work out well for them. But again, you've only wished it happened a little bit earlier, just because, I mean, you don't want to be like 12-10 right now, but also, as I keep saying, like closer and closer to March you have to start figuring out who you are as a team. And that's why those 2 wins were very important, because it goes on the road against Tulsa, then back on the 10th against Charlotte, a home game, which I heard they might be doing another tailgate because Giancarlo Rosado is returning. Then they got Temple. Then they got on the road against Wichita State. Temple right now is 4th in the conference in the conference standings. The other 3 are in the bottom like 4 or 5 in the conference standings right now. So that's a good schedule in their favor. Now they got to start capitalizing on it. And those 2 games, averaging almost 100 points a game, which, Megan, you and I, when we were with JD last year, I mean, we're speaking with Coach Jacobs. He was saying he wants the team to be scoring 100 points a game.
Exactly. And then with the Charlotte game, I mean, they beat them the last time that they met up by 11. So I feel like they can kind of have some sort of confidence going into that, especially since they've already played prior this season, so they know exactly the kind of team dynamic. And this time they get the home court advantage, but last time it was on the road.
Yeah. Plus, like a majority of the players on this team have not played in the AAC. They have not really played this conference. So only the few that really have are Carroll, really just Carroll, because he was the only one to play really meaningful minutes, and he's having a career year right now. Congrats to Carroll. So only one player really on that roster knows how to play against the AAC. So now we're starting to see the other players starting to figure that out as well, because they already played previously against Charlotte. Now like, okay, now we know how we play against Charlotte. Now we know what Memphis is like. Now we know what Rice and Tulane, we know what they're like. So later on in the season, when we play against them again, including North Texas, which was a very big opponent, now we know how to play against them. Now we know what to do for the next game.
I would like to say that I really appreciate Trey Carroll and even Caleb Glenn. Those two players specifically are very consistent, and I feel like if there are certain players that have good nights, like those are always the players that like, you know, it's either those two only have a good night or they're helping the team. You know, with Keith Tandy having 26 points, both of them had good nights alongside that. And if you know, those two kind of establish themselves as like, oh yeah, we can play consistently. So if the other players can start playing more consistently, I think we're going to start racking more wins.
Yes, and I think also like with Glenn, he's been more like coming off of the bench, which I feel like for him, again, having playing a little bit at Louisville, not really used to playing on the off the bench that much. So it was good to see him starting to kind of accept that role and be like, okay, I know for the team, I probably have to come off the bench, but I can still have a great night. Same goes for Nicola Moretti, who's also been playing pretty consistently as well and having a huge impact on the team as well. Also seeing Carroll now getting like a starting position as well. So everyone's trying to figure out their identity, their roles, and what they need to be with this team.
Yeah, I feel like once they made that adjustment to have Carroll start, that was a really good adjustment by Jacobs, I feel like, because he is just, like Morgan just said, he is extremely consistent. Looking at like their regular season and like with high points and high rebounds,
it's usually Glenn or Carroll.
It's constantly Carroll's scattered all over. With assists, it's usually been either Moretti or Walker, and then with points, with points, Carroll and Glenn, Bocatitis a couple of nights, but I think it's great that they have those two people that you kind of know are gonna be decent on the night. But going forward, the next 4 games are definitely easier, but then that stretch with Memphis and then right after Memphis, North Texas.
And then going to USF and Yuengling Center, which is also like a very tough atmosphere to play at.
Yeah, because we remember how intense it was last year. I believe that game, was it sold out?
I think it might have been, and I know USF won, like, I think it was like 90-84 or something. It was a high scoring game.
Didn't it go to overtime?
Huh?
Was it that game that went to overtime?
No.
It was like a very, well, it was one of the other green teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the North Texas, no.
One of the green teams.
Yeah, I remember, man, that game against North Texas last year when John L. Davis hit like the game winner. That was last year, right? Or was that the year before?
For which game?
For North Texas.
Against North Texas, John L. Yeah, that was a home
last
game,
season, because that was my first men's basketball game that I covered, and it was incredible.
I think that was a SportsCenter like top 10 moment.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. It was. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That was awesome.
That's what we need to have another moment like that this
season. I feel like there was almost a moment like that happening. I remember it was early in the first half. Caleb Glenn made a terrific block. And I think either the ball went out of bounds or whatnot, but it was like a foul and goaltending and went back to a USF. But it was such a great block. I was like, oh my God, they just kept that play going on. That would have been easily SportsCenter top 10.
The first play that USF did, he tried to like ram it over Trey Carroll. Remember that?
Yeah.
And that was a really good play by Trey Carroll as well.
Yeah.
Well, we had it happen to us with the 2 games with the buzzer beaters back to back against Stetson Hall and then Florida Gulf Coast. But But so as we're kind of looking at like the final stretch of conference games heading into the tournament, what would you guys predict for like how they're gonna go? Like
how they're gonna be at the end of towards the end of the season?
Yeah, what do you think their record will be?
I think we'll have a probably above 500. I think being 12-10 before this 8-game stretch is really good for us. I don't think we're going to be below 500. But we're a team that usually, it's actually kind of funny, every single time we get to like 9-9 or 10-10, boom, we get a win. So we kind of like always avoid that 500 record, and I think we will do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's more about how are we going to be going into the conference tournament.
Yeah, for me, I think like definitely be over 500. And I think right now they're just like fighting for what type of seed they're going to get, which I mean really is everyone, but I feel like for FAU specifically, it's like what seed they're going to get. Because I know for the tournament, I think like the first like 4 or 6 teams, or maybe 8 teams, get played in the first round. Then the next like 4 get like a bye or something. So we want to try to be one of those teams that gets that bye. So, I mean, depending on how well FAU plays consistently, and especially with how they play against teams like Memphis, again, who's currently ranked North Texas, one of the best in the conference, same as UAB. Depending on how well they play against those teams in particular, I feel like it'll be a good stretch at the end of the season, and then once their tournament, because the end-all be-all goal is they have to win their conference tournament to get to the March Madness. Again, they have to, because their non-conference was not that great, and their only really big win was against Oklahoma State. But that team is, like, I think, still currently like one of the worst in their conference in the Big 12. So that's not really an interesting win for them. So unless they're able to take out Memphis, and if later on in the season, if North Texas somehow gets ranked, maybe they win against those 2 teams in a very in great fashion. Maybe that can help them in the long run. But really, you have to win your conference tournament.
Yeah, Oklahoma State is right now 14th in the Big 12, so they're not having too hot of a season.
That's out of 16.
It's not last.
It's
out of 16.
It's out of 16.
Yeah.
So Colorado's last. 0-10.
You have not won. Oh my God, Colorado! Go back to the Pac-12. You have not won.
It's okay. They're a football school. They did great in football this season.
Yeah.
Looking at the rest of the.
I was gonna say I think we could go like 6-3 in the remainder of.
Is there 9 games left? 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I counted.
Looking at kind of the rest of these games, like I know, of course, every game is like a must-win from here on out for seeding. However, looking at, we still face UAB and North Texas, who are our top 3 in the conference right now.
And so Memphis also is currently ranked. So you get a win against Memphis in Memphis, which would be really tough to play at, but able to get a win over ranked Memphis will really help. And maybe later on this season, like North Texas or maybe even UAB also get ranked, which would be good because if FAU defeats them, then also going to help them in the long run. But I don't think will be too much of a factor for in the community. Be like, oh, they didn't win their conference, but they took out these like 3 ranked teams. That could be. I don't think that'd be enough for them to be like the community. Be like, yeah, they'll 100%
Honestly, I feel like
at large bid. I don't think it'll be the case.
If you're not like one of the power conferences, you need like 25+ wins to be.
But also, I mean, looking at the overall conferences, I mean, like the SEC, like almost half of their entire team, almost half the entire conference are ranked. So like anyone for SEC is going to get a guaranteed automatic bid, really. So it's like for like those smaller schools, particularly for FAU, it's like how well are you in your non-conference, but also you have to really just win your conference, really get that to get at large bid and get to qualify for the tournament. That was a big thing at the end of the last season. They lost to Temple, who no one had Temple on their radar in that tournament, and Temple were the runner-ups in the championship game. They took out FAU in the semifinal, and FAU was still able to get into the number 8 to get the 8th seed because how their at-large bid was. And as we were mentioning, how the non-conference, like, it was built more for a team like FAU who already like knew who they were and like meshed well together, like a veteran team. And for the team like this new team for FAU, this really isn't a great schedule, wasn't a great non-conference for them. So now it's like you have to win your conference tournament.
And we also kind of have to root for, I guess, like the downfall of Memphis and UAB and stuff. So that way, that's another way that they would be able to get a higher spot in the tournament. But off the topic of men's basketball, women's basketball, since the last time we spoke on Monday, they've gone 1-1. They're right now they're 10th and 13, and then they're 2 and 8 in the conference. They lost to Tulane on Wednesday, 68-52. But on Saturday, they actually defeated Rice 66-61, and Stephanie Ingram had 25 points. So I believe that's the highest that she scored this season in a game. I would have to double check that. But they also had a really large attendance for the game because they brought in like local high school and middle school like basketball teams. So the attendance was 330. So I wonder if kind of them having like a fan base helped to propel them a little bit.
It was the season high for her.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought so.
25 points is the season high for her against Rice. In fact, most of her season highs was against Rice. So yeah, she had a great game.
Yeah. We got into like a whole spiel last week about the women's team, and right now, I mean, they're second to last in the conference play, and I still have so many questions about why this has happened this season, last season. As soon as they hit conference play, they like fall apart almost.
Yeah. But I think also one of the biggest things I just saw is looking at the box score, and Maya Perry is still not on the team. I think it's like her third straight game not playing. And one of the people I broadcasted the games with recently, my roommate, he was saying how like he noticed during the shoot around for one of the games we were calling where Maya Perry was playing. It was like she did not look happy whatsoever. And then hearing about how I think it was against like Tulane or whatnot, the broadcasts were like, yeah, she got scratched out from the game. Like she's not going to be playing that game. So you're also wondering if this would be another situation like with Anaya Perry, where maybe some like Anaya Hubbard, sorry, where some like disconnect or whatnot with either the coaching staff or the team overall, where now your star player has left. But I mean, even now with her still not playing, I mean, FAU is showing a little bit of depth. I mean, Ingram now with 25 points, Tazaya Jenks, both are new players, both led the team with 25 and 14 points respectively. So I think there's like maybe a little bit of upside, but I still think overall, like, you have to finish this season strong. And I feel like for Coach Sullivan, she's 100% in the hot seat. Like, you have to finish the season strong, like with a winning record, or even also having to just win your conference also to prove that you still like deserve your job. Because I feel like after that, I don't know if I'm Brian White thinking, okay, 4 straight years and either like losing record or whatnot, but 4 straight years, really no success. Maybe it's on the head coach.
Looking at they faced Wichita, which is 7-16, 1-9 in the conference, facing Memphis after that, right? And then facing Memphis after that, who's 5-15 overall, and then only 3 wins in the conference. Like, they have a pretty favorable 2 matchups, although it is on the road. So if they are going to start getting on the winning side of things, these next 2 games is a perfect chance for them to do that.
Yeah, they need the Wichita State win. Like, I feel like that is something that, because Wichita State, they're last in the conference.
Yeah.
So if they end up losing to them, then they'll be tied for last, and that's probably their easiest win. And I remember last season, I believe Wichita State is actually who they fell to in the tournament.
They lost in the first round.
So go into the game with some hatred, and maybe that'll propel them. But
to answer more of the question, I talked about this last time, but this is still a team that's still trying to get to that American Athletic Conference level, because previously we were Conference USA level.
I think also like you can make that argument for the men's team last year as well, where like they were their first time in the conference. They were able to have a lot of success, and especially for this season, not so much, but of course having a whole like new team. For women's basketball, it's like relatively the same roster the last 2 years. You should like in this conference, you should like already like have an idea of like how this conference plays. I feel like that's maybe what Sullivan did, because she added in Tazaya Jenks and added in Stephanie Ingram, adding those players to help them play in this, help them compete in this conference. I feel like now it's like what they're trying to do as a team. The team's like so far has not been meshing most of the season.
Yeah.
Last couple of games they kind of are, especially now with your star player not playing on the other players like now stepping up as well. So we're showing a little bit of that depth is important for the team. But I mean, I feel like for 2 years right now, and you're still not used to understanding the conference, that's not good. I feel like that's not good, like coaching. Like after the first year, learning from your mistakes, adding players, develop your coaching to where like now you're like, okay, I know how these teams play now, and try to like show them some improvement. There's really been no signs of improvement past 4 years from this head coach.
Yeah.
I would say that I agree with you. Like you can say the same thing about the men's last year. However, that was also a team that beat multiple power conference teams during the championship.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
of
that was a team
yeah.
that went to the Final Four.
Yeah, so of course they could hold their own against the American Athletic Conference teams when they moved up. But for the women's, we haven't really seen a lot of success, like them face any power conference competition and like perform well.
Yeah, because I mean, the only like really big game they played was against at the time number 9 TCU, and they lost by 36 points.
Yeah.
Holy, 36?
Yeah.
And even against Florida's not ranked, but they still lost by 30, almost 30 to Florida. So, you know, I think it might be a little bit of still adjusting to the conference realignment. So.
Well, it's interesting though. I didn't catch the thing about Perry not playing in the last 3 games. So I want to know just what is going on within the team dynamic, because now that this is happening 2 years in a row where this...
It has to go down to the head coach most likely.
It has to,
It has
right?
to.
Like, I don't understand how can your best player last year have an 8-game stretch where she didn't play, and then this season, now your best player hasn't played for 3. I want to get inside the locker room and like find out. But anyway, if you're a club or student organization wanting to promote an event you're hosting, or just want to promote yourself, DM UPress Sports on Instagram with 3 to 4 sentence paragraph, and we'll read it live on air. Now, back to FAU hockey, their Division II team is now 17-2-1, and then their Division III team is 13-5. They had 2 players this week selected for like every week the hockey does 3 stars of the week, and 2 were selected. Christian Kacheka?
I think it might be Kushia?
Kushia?
Yeah, Kushia.
Kushia,
That's what I was
okay.
thinking.
I'm sorry. He was picked first from the D3 team. He had 6 goals, 8 assists, and 14 points in 2 games, which that's like insanity. To
6 goals from just him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How many games? In 2 games.
In
Wow.
2 games. Yeah, in 2 games. And then picked second was David Israel from the Division II team. He had 7 goals, 4 assists, 11 points in 2 games. And the Division II just had back-to-back wins over Middle Tennessee, and then the D3 team just won both their games against Florida. You know, looking at how successful the Division III team has been in their first year, I'm wondering if in a couple of years or so we're going to see them make a Division I team, or if that's something that would come up in conversation.
I don't know exactly how long the team has been, like the club has been established, but I think it's been established past like a couple of years ago, and already now being one of the top in like Division III, where now you add a Division II team, so already like expanding in a way. So that's already showing huge improvement. And I was mentioning I mentioned this after the show because we were asking like how could a team like FAU's hockey club end up maybe becoming like an actual sport, like an athletic sport. And I looked it up, and it was somehow like playing against intercollegiate teams, like playing against like those like teams like Penn State or whatnot, playing against those over time could I think potentially give you the opportunity to play in an actual athletic sport, I believe. So
I find it
maybe like something they might do later on, but I feel like I don't know if they're really thinking right now in the long run about that. They might just think like, let's build some success, just start building some success as a team and expanding the whole club as a whole, because they're gaining a huge audience.
Yeah.
I don't know how hockey works. I never watched the NHL growing up, but I know that they have like minor leagues and like developmental leagues and stuff like that. So I was, because you know, like of course basketball or football, they don't have a D1 and then a D2 team, right? But in hockey, they have a D2 and a D3 team. So
but these are just more for like the clubs overall, I believe. I don't know if it's the actual like, because I don't know what like the
it's
pro
for
team.
like the clubs. Because UF has Division I, II, and III.
Yeah, because I don't know if the NCAA, if they have like of like their kind of like from some NCAA sports, like an actual like other association tells them about the rules and they like do the standings. Like I know for volleyball it's the AVCA, so it's not from just like NCAA, it's from a whole different other organization. But I mean, it's College Hockey South. I don't think that's associated with the NCAA overall in a way. So I don't think typically like if they move up to like D1 or D1 College Hockey South, they're going to be playing against teams like Penn State and Minnesota. I don't think it's like that.
No, because like Michigan State, they play teams that are in the Big Ten. So it's a completely different, it's almost like club sports versus like high school sports. The club sports would never play the high school teams. I guess that's kind of a way to compare it. I don't know. I'm looking at.
I guess looking towards, I guess the big thing is when our Division II team faces off against Florida's Division I team. That's happening on Valentine's Day and the Saturday after.
No love lost between those teams, I guess.
So I'm guessing those a win against the either one of those days. That's probably a big start for us getting a Division I
team. Possibly, yeah. I mean, because even the Division II team, I believe that they've played, or the Division III. It's weird because I would have thought that you would have to stick to your division, but I guess within the college hockey, like you can play anyone. Because they played Florida's Division I team last year, I believe, too.
Yeah, actually, you just got a thing from our producer, Mitch. Shout out Mitch. He was saying how the hockey club is a club sports. It's not really affiliated with the university or with the NCAA, and the team received zero funding from university, which I think kind of shows. Because I know, like, I think student government recently, like, did something for
they sent students to the game.
So like the university is the university in itself or in the athletics overall like not like supporting or funding, which I mean makes sense because it's a club sport. But I think it'd be kind of interesting figuring out maybe the next like 10 or so years, like, oh, how could this team possibly get to like be an actual like athletic sport? I don't think it's going to happen really right now because I know one of the players, I think on the Division II team, he created a club and also plays for the team. And I don't think really in his mindset is like we're going to be like an athletic team in like 5 years. I think it's more of like let's see how this thing grows, build this fan base, and maybe just show like, hey, we are like having something really special here. We're building like a dynasty here where we could possibly go to like start playing. Like,
I'm not going to lie. Out of all the sports here at FAU, the ones that are most talked about, football, basketball, maybe baseball/softball, but hockey is like a strong contender.
Hockey is big in Florida, which is crazy.
Like most of the students I hear talk like about sports, like we're going to the hockey game this Friday.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people wearing the hockey jerseys. Well, they're really cool. Like everyone.
Oh, the palm tree ones are so cool. Like, but I have when I went to the game like a couple weeks ago, my mom bought me a little like ice hockey club shirt. But then it's nice because anything that people purchase goes towards funding the team. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. It's definitely not something that would happen, I feel like, even within 10 years. Because UF has 3, like Division 1, 2, and 3. And obviously it's UF. They're a much bigger university.
But I don't know if like even, because I feel like if we're saying for FAU they don't receive funding from the university nor athletics, I think it would be the same to say for those other club sports as well, like Florida and Alabama, which are also in the College Hockey South as well. I don't think they're also receiving funding.
No, So I don't know how they fund all that because they have to rent out the practice.
Obviously, they have like a huge alumni and sponsors and donors. Maybe like a lot of them are like, hey, we're huge fans of hockey. Your hockey club is good. We're going to give you some more funding. Maybe
NHL players that used to play for them. Maybe.
Mitch said dues from players, so I guess the players actually have to fund it.
Wow.
Which makes sense. I mean,
it does make sense, like making the shirts and whatnot, having to sell them like proper.
Yeah, but like when I played club volleyball, it was one really expensive. I think it was like $1,000 or $2,000 or something for the season, and then all the players had to pay that, and then that's how it was funded. So I guess it's exactly the same, just like that. But getting off of hockey, this is kind of. It's not focused around a team per se. I just thought it could be a little fun discussion that we could have. So Emily Harper, she's a writer for the University Press, and she just wrote an article about what volleyball players have been doing like during the off season, and how they use the off season as a chance to just build the team strength, especially coming in with new players. They just take the time to obviously put in work. They said Victoria Hensley said that they put in work at the gym, like the weight room, as they prepare for this season. But they also really focus on their individual growth as well as like their team chemistry, especially with the new players. And they said that they like to go to the beach and just do, fun things because they have more free time. But if you guys were, let's see, should we be basketball players?
I was gonna say
yeah.
Well, let's like say hypothetically whatever sports we want to like choose, like whatever sports you might want to do, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, pick a sport and then pretend that you're an athlete. What would you be doing in the off season?
All right. So for me, if I were like on basketball, I think I'll probably do off season. Of course, still like obviously work out and whatnot, but I think more just like trying to take like a break from like the sport in general, maybe, or like break from like school. Like, of course, it's great to have a mindset on that for the long run, but also like sometimes like good like take a break from just thinking about basketball or whatnot. And, like I don't know, like doing like a hobby you enjoy or something besides something like basketball. So maybe just like doing more like either I guess like something like if someone says like self-care or whatever, but also like just like a constantly training and whatnot and preparing to be my best self for the next season.
Yeah, if I played college like volleyball, I definitely would still train in the off season. When I used to play, I would just sit around and do absolutely nothing. But it really, I'm sure that it's nice for them because I would like use it to actually have my schoolwork together because I'm a really bad procrastinator, which is not a good habit to have.
Yeah, especially in journals, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, well, with my articles, I am on top of it, but with other things, it's like
because of the articles, you're probably a little bit behind of the.
Yeah, and yes. I keep up with everything for the UP. I really do take that seriously, but with other things, it's like, oh, it's due tonight. Okay, I'll do it at 10 o'clock. And that's how I was in high school. It was bad because I had the mentality.
Like at midnight, right before midnight. So you have like about less than 2 hours.
Well, I'm talking like for my yoga class.
Oh,
it's
okay.
a 5-question quiz.
Wait,
so
a yoga class?
Yeah, I'm taking yoga.
That's a credit?
It's 1 credit. Because I needed 16 credits to graduate.
Yeah.
So with 4 of my classes, they came to 15 credits. So I needed 1 more so that I could graduate. And then I was like, I'm going to take yoga. Which I actually got the email today that my application was like successful. So I'm so excited.
What?
You have to apply.
You have to take a test?
No, you have to apply to graduate.
So you have to apply to the yoga class to graduate?
What?
You said you have to apply to graduate. So you have to apply to the yoga class?
No.
You mean apply to
I think
FAU.
I confused you.
Yeah, I'm really confused. I just feel like you can take a class,
like FAU,
credit
just
class
FAU.
with
Yes,
yoga.
FAU. Like,
FAU, you have to apply to graduate.
Yeah, you have to apply for FAU to graduate so that they process it and then they check your transcript, make sure you had the 120 credits, make sure like for journalism you did
all the
what that exam, yeah. So I'm talking like FAU.
I think I definitely agree with you that, I don't know, I think it was you that said that you take just a break from the sport in general. I think I would too. I have a problem with like sometimes I get very hooked on something for like a month. And then I don't like think about it for like 2 weeks after that, and I get on something new. I rotate like between like I don't know, sports, something science related, right, and then like music, right, and I just like, oh man, I'm like, and I get hooked on one thing. So like after a long season, I probably have to take like a good month break just from anything.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of times athletes do. Even like sometimes during the season as well. Like it's like okay, we're like training in lab, now I have a little break between my classes and a day. Like the next day I'm training, so maybe this time I'll like go again either to the beach or really do something like keep my mind away from the sport. Because it's good to have a huge passion for the sport you want to play and possibly go to the pros with. But also it's also good to just not think too much about it and just like take a breather away from it, especially from like social media and whatnot and everything. Yeah.
I'd crochet.
Crochet is like getting big again. Like,
yeah, well I got addicted to it. I have like I have probably like 12 things of yarn.
Like my girlfriend had like a little crochet phase. Like I feel like everyone goes through like a crochet phase.
Everyone has their little phase. But that's what, once the summer starts, once I graduate, that's what I'll be getting back to doing. Because the summertime was when I have my phase. It's a fun habit, or hobby.
Yeah.
But Yeah. And then I guess the last thing for today, so with the football team, obviously we have a new coach now. And with a new coach and transfer players brings new athletes. So Caden Veltkamp. Yeah. I don't know how to say anyone's last name. That's probably how people feel about my last name, though. So I guess.
Yeah, when I originally saw your name, when I originally saw her last name, I thought it was like Bruinsma. She's like, no, it's Bruinsma. It's like I thought it was Bruinsma because there's an I there.
That I is the trick. The I is the
exactly.
My calf's cramping up right now.
Veltkamp, I'm really excited for him. Honestly,
Yeah.
he led Conference USA in yards and touchdowns, and completion percentage. I'm pretty sure. So and completion percentage, yes. Like we're getting the best Conference USA quarterback. We're getting somebody who works well with quarterbacks and with offenses in general.
Yeah,
and I felt like last year was the biggest issue. Last season was offense.
So I think also like him, because mentioned here that he also worked as the offensive coordinator for the Hilltoppers before joining FAU.
Yeah.
So him having that experience already with that is good. To me, I feel like this reminds me a lot though with Coach Herman, because when he first got here, he new quarterback that came in was oh my god, I almost forgot his name. Casey Thompson. I think Casey Thompson. They both were together in Texas, so I was like, oh, head coach and quarterback both knew each other. Back together again. Okay, it's gonna be good.
But then he got injured.
Yeah, he got injured, but also
he
like
did get injured.
Even before that, he still didn't look too great. So it was like could be a little bit like a struggle. So it'd be interesting to see how Caden performs, especially since his top receiver is also joining FAU as well, which also could have that connection. But I still think back to this previous season where Cam Fancher and Caleb Coombs, both from Marshall, both came here and they just both did not play well. They really weren't connecting a lot on the field or anything. Of course, because the passing game really wasn't that great, but still, like, not connecting to this one receiver he knows from Marshall, like, that kind of has me worried. So I feel like for this, seeing how he played against in the Boca Raton Bowl, which was also big, so I had some experience seeing this arena and being here.
Yeah, it's cool that he got to come here and play in that, and now he's actually going to the school.
Yeah, so I feel like you're seeing how his stats, I mean, over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, like, he's a playmaker, and of course, Kelly, his experience coaching guys like Patrick Mahomes and whatnot, he can develop quarterbacks. It'd be very good to see.
Yeah.
And the passing game is the biggest problem, I think, that we talked about all of last season. Last football season was the passing game wasn't that great. Run game was good. Defense was okay. Pass game was one of the worst. So it's good to see that problem fixed. And again, it'd be interesting. It'd be good to see some success for the football team because I'm entering my final year next semester. Now I'll have 3 head coaches in football I went through. So it'll be interesting to see now with this one. Seems to be some success with this program, possibly in the first year, especially since ironically my first full football game I broadcast in the final year, my freshman year, was against Western Kentucky. And after that game, an overtime great game, they fired Taggart. So also having that connection there as well, intrigues me.
Angelina did a really great piece about Caden, and when he was at Western Kentucky, aside from his stats, he had a bunch of titles given to him. He was crowned Conference USA's 2024 Offensive Player of the Year. In 2023, he was named the famous Toastery Bowl's Offensive MVP. And then at FAU, he said that he wants to add to that. And I liked that he said, team goals. He said team goals rather than his personal goals, which
I think that does show because during the men's basketball game, which also showed how big that game was, because they reserved a whole section for the softball team, I think soccer team, football team, and the women's basketball team. And so also during the halftime of that dunk contest, Caden Veltkamp was one of the judges. Also been that camaraderie with the team already seeing this offseason, as well as going to these big games for the university as well. It was good try to get the fans in the spirit of the team and also showing that he's building a connection with this new place.
It's always a trait that I respect in players when they have that mentality of the team comes first rather than, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, you're the leader of the team.
Yeah, when you're playing a sport, it's especially a team sport. If you're playing tennis, then focus on yourself. You're the only person out there unless you're doing doubles. But in a team sport, if there's that internal kind of drama, which is why I think that the basketball team that went to the Final Four, they worked together so well is because Dusty May always said that no one cared about their personal goals.
They didn't care if one of them didn't have a good night. As long as one of their other teammates had a good game, that's all they cared about.
Yeah, because if you're focused on, oh, I'm so mad I didn't get the pass this time, someone else got it, or oh, someone else got to shoot, I wanted to have the opportunity, it's gonna affect the team, and your teammates are gonna recognize that, and then that leads to not having success, in my opinion, and experiences.
With just because I did an article earlier this the school year about the FAU history, football history, and it seems like every single time the school actually has a lot of success, it's like they at least have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
With Lane Kiffin, they had what was his name?
Chris Robinson.
Yes, Chris Robinson, and he produced well, and then of course he wasn't the best, but we had Devin Singletary. And then, of course, in the beginning, we had Jared Allen, and he was really good and really consistent throughout his 4 years when he played here. And that, we also had a very successful second and third year as a Division I football school. So it really feels like we need to have at least a good quarterback, because we really haven't, outside of certain years, we really haven't had a consistent good quarterback. And it seems like every single time we do, we're at least successful.
Yeah, I think also the pattern I see with the football team as well is or even just overall athletics is where when a team is successful, next year or two, that coach, that players are gone. It's the university's kind of becoming one of those grounds where it's coaches who haven't played for a while, having a slump, come here, play terrific, just have something on their tape for the next school to look at.
I know if the what was the head coach's name again?
Zach Gidley?
Yes.
Okay.
I know because he has a really impressive resume already. If he does very successful here at FAU, he's probably going to get poached by a bigger school anyway.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we also saw it with Dusty May too. Again, you're always going to be loyal to the university, but also at the end of the day, it's where's that line between loyalty, but also self-preservation? I also have to provide for my family. If I'm getting paid more money at Michigan versus if I'm getting my overall 10 years for Florida Atlantic, sure, I love the university. I want to keep building. But also, I want to provide for my family. I want to have the opportunity to play a coach at a bigger level. Let me go to Michigan. It always makes sense.
That's probably the biggest problem with nowadays is that I feel like if you have schools, you can see they go from one of the worst teams in the conference, and then they're one of the best teams in the conference with just one hire, with one head coaching hire. So if that happens, let's just say in this hypothetical, if that happens, he's probably gone after 2 seasons.
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly. But
which is sad to see that's the reality with mid-majors is there's some mid-majors like Memphis or Gonzaga where they build such a huge resume and identity where people are going to stay with that mid-major for almost their entire careers. But for all the other mid-majors, including Florida Atlantic, it's more of you play or coach well here, and then if another final year of eligibility left or you're have good enough resume as a coach, we want to hire you or we want you to come to our university. Okay, I'm going to go play at a bigger level. Because at the end of the day, you can play well at a mid-major, but that might not help you in the long run when you get to the pros. I mean, there are some outliers which with Trey Hendrickson and Devin Singletary where they both were first-round picks, I believe. I think that Trey might have been late second or might have been a second-round pick. I know Devin was a first-round pick. You have some players come from FAU football team and they got to be a first-round pick. Some outliers like that, but typically for mid-majors is from a mid-major, you really want to go to an SEC a power school. So you have a better resume. So when you go to the pros, it looks okay, well, you played well in mid-majors, but you didn't play against SEC type caliber. And now if you're Elijah Martin, you're playing for one of the best teams in the nation in Florida. You're playing against those SEC power schools. Okay, you're NBA bound because you're already playing that physical sport.
Exactly, and I mean it's mid-major schools are almost just a stepping stone to kind of get to
most of them,
a better place almost. I mean, because we saw with Dusty May and Vlad following him, they're doing great at Michigan. So maybe
LaJonte did great out of Colorado. Yeah, he had a great season.
Yeah, he deserved that because he was such a good player, and he just
didn't have any quarterback help. Whenever he got the ball, he had to make the plays. It wasn't more the quarterback making the plays. Okay, I got the ball, now I got to carry the team. And now it's sure, he had like a wide receiver 3 type of role at Colorado,
Yeah.
but he still got the ball a lot of times. And he still got play on special teams.
And honestly,
as well.
towards the end of the year, I think he established himself as the second best receiver on that team.
He made some great like game-winning touchdown catches for a couple of games for Colorado. So he already like has that.
Yeah.
I think he's for sure going to have a shot in the NFL.
Yeah, he'll definitely be like probably like maybe day 3 at probably maybe like round 5 or something probably.
But yeah, so we kind of talked about it a little bit, but with Caden coming over, Easton Messers also transferring, and he was the Hilltoppers' second leading receiver last season. And it was honestly kind of cute. Like, I like the information that Angelina got from them, because they're saying like, oh, he's like my best friend. We're super excited to be here. And if any of you have looked at the article, like, there's a final photo of, actually, look, don't they look like a little family? Like,
A little family.
kind of, right? But it's just cool that they all kind of had the connection, where now I think having that connection already is going to help them out so much. Because when John Jacobs came here and brought all these new guys in, no one was previously connected. And here, at least, in football, I do think that the quarterback is probably like the most important position, because they're the team leader. They make like
even though they're like
the general.
Yeah, they're the field general. Even though they're the captains of the offense or overall captains of the team, like they also help command, like try to give some words of encouragement to the defense as well. Like they're not just like, oh, I'm just focused on offense. Like I'm also focused on defense as well. Like they're overall helping the team. And
since he already has a previous connection with Kitley, I think that's just gonna help him mesh a lot better into his first season.
Also, his second receiver on his team, his second target, also now joined the team as well. Probably also being wide receiver 1. And I do know like they got some recruits as well. I think probably some transfer guys as well, some receivers. So they also went heavily into the receiving game, because they're going like, okay, we know Kitley's a passing coach. We're going to need some more receivers, more tight ends for the team, and they're trying to bring a lot of those in. So again, really interesting and great to see that there's a lot of new receivers coming in. Again, now it's like, okay, how they are going to mesh well with one another.
Yeah. Well, I guess everyone's just going to have to stay tuned for next year, or actually the end of this year.
Yeah.
To see
next season. Yeah.
Yes, next season, to see how they come together.
But we'll also see a little bit in the spring game.
Yeah, which I believe is in March or April. Or
oh, yeah, I forgot that they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see it in spring. But on that note, I think it's about time to wrap things up, and I'm going to remember to do this week.
Good.
Where can they find you guys?
They can find me on Instagram at MaddoxBlade04 and on Twitter at Maddox Greenberg.
And you can find me on Instagram at Megan_Brunsma and Twitter, Megan Brunsma.
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram, MJ_Larkins.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week, next Monday at 12. Peace.
Peace.